Welcome to NCIX Tech Tips. Zap zap. Okay, that wasn't the most descriptive intro we've ever done, but this, my friends, is our video showcase of the GTX 780 Lightning from MSI. A truly flagship class non-reference PCB'd, non-reference coolered graphics card. It even comes in a non-reference box. Look at this carrying case. The first thing you find when you open it up is one, that it's extremely heavy, and two, that it comes with a certificate of quality and stability. It is what they're calling OC certified. So it is capable of running not only at its default clock speeds, but also at overclocked speeds very, very stably. The next thing you find is the graphics card itself, and then finally in the bottom drawer, so to speak, of this particular little box, you find a replacement backplate. Whoa, okay, well there was all the accessories. Anyway, you find all those SLI bridge, power adapters, V-checkpoint cables, and an alternate backplate in case you don't want to, for whatever reason, use the stock full-length backplate on the card. Now, because the GTX 780 Lightning is based on a GTX 780 GPU, it has all the normal NVIDIA features. So you've got SLI, 3D Vision, PhysX, CUDA, G-Sync, and of course Geforce Experience, which has its own subset of included features. So game streaming to compatible devices like NVIDIA Shield, low overhead gameplay recording, so you can, store the games that you were playing and then you can edit them in your favorite video editing programs and all that kind of stuff. And even now, live streaming to Twitch using Geforce Experience. And then the last thing, of course, is the fact that it keeps your drivers up to date and your game settings optimized. But that's not what makes the Lightning special. What makes the Lightning special is the non-reference PCB, including MSI's military class concept. So that is to say that without getting into a bunch of different sort of exciting but not really that easy to understand terminology, that's to say that it will last longer and run cooler than a standard reference PCB card, while having the capability of overclocking higher, especially if you're willing to do some fancy BIOS modding kajiggery. It also has, speaking of BIOS modding, some pretty cool onboard features to go with that better non-reference PCB. So number one is up here, boom, BIOS switch. So you can switch between regular mode and LN2 mode, although you'll need to find a special BIOS somewhere online if you want to unlock the very high power limit that this card is capable of delivering, because it has two 8-pin inputs, but because of NVIDIA's Greenlight program, it's limited to 109% total power limit, just like most other GTX 780s. Anyway, moving on to other cool features on board, it has their illuminated Lightning logo here that actually glows 3 different colors depending on the load of the card. It also has onboard V checkpoints, so you can use a dedicated multimeter in order to measure your voltage levels. So that's especially important if you're going to be volt modding the card and doing things that just won't be detected correctly by software. Also at the back, we find 3 fan headers. So these are actually running on 2 different PWM controllers, so you can control the 2 outer fans and the inner fan independently. And speaking of fans, yes, you have 3 fans on this sort of, I'd say it's about a 2.3 slot cooler. So it will take up 3 slots in your case, but it's not as ludicrously large as, say, for example, ASUS's DirectCU2 3-slot cards. Anyway, those fans are, well, dealing with the heat that is being distributed by a massive 7 heat pipe aluminum cooler that also has a full unisync under that cooler. So that's cooling components like the all-digital VRM. It has an all-digital power design for the GPU and the memory, as well as its auxiliary power. And then it also has a full backplate for any of the componentry on the back, although it should be noted that backplates don't necessarily contribute that much to cooling of the back of the card. They certainly look good, though, I'll give them that. Also, we have GPU reactor. This is again a feature that might not be that relevant unless you are sub-zero cooling or using custom BIOSes, but what it is it's an additional daughter board, like it's a little PCB that sits on the back and reduces ripple, as well as providing the ability to give more power to the GPU, although you can actually take it off and not even use it should you prefer. Of course, there's the standard stuff on the card, like the PCI Express 16X 3.0 connector, the 2 DVI ports, an HDMI port, and a DisplayPort port that are able of handling 3 monitor NVIDIA 3D Vision and an auxiliary display. And then of course there was one other thing that I was going to say, but now I have totally lost track of it. Ah yes, the 2 8-pin power connectors that I believe I did mention before. So basically guys, how does the 780 Lightning perform? The answer is it performs unsurprisingly. It is clocked at its maximum boost clock. It does support GPU Boost 2.0. It is clocked at 133 megahertz higher than a standard reference GTX 780, but when you overclock both cards, it doesn't separate itself from it that much because of the fact that you can't really unlock the power limit unless you're willing to do a little bit of work. Now with that said, for, 30 to 50 or even 60 bucks more than a regular GTX 780. Is this worth the extra investment for something that runs cooler, is very quiet, and is generally built better? I would say as long as it fits in your case. It does have a non-standard size PCB, so it's a little bit on the taller side, as well as of course having that 2 and a bit slot cooler. As long as it fits in your case, it looks like a pretty good value. So thank you for checking out this showcase of the GTX 780 Lightning from MSI. Don't forget to subscribe to NCIX Tech Tips for more videos like this from ncix.com.